My name's Ryan Lundquist, and it's a real honor to be here today. And I have the next 40 minutes. I know, oh my gosh, that sounds painful. This guy's really going to talk that long, but I want to drop some knowledge on you. I want you to walk away with a well-developed sense of what the market's doing, especially if you work in real estate, some tidbits you can share with clients. And my last slide is specifically designed for real estate professionals, things to do to focus business in 2021. So there's a lot of information here. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat. If I see them, or if I don't see them, Joel, you can let me know. But otherwise, if it's too technical, we might have to do that later. You can email me. But we basically have a market that nobody expected to see. All right. We've had one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive and competitive markets we've ever had. And that's been during a pandemic, right? Like, raise your hand if you predicted that. No, I highly doubt it, right? And so let's talk through sort of where things are at right now, and go from there. But really, here's sort of a picture of what the market feels like right now. This is a couple of weeks ago, January 2021. This is by Realtor Sandra Schrader. Here's a line of people during a pandemic waiting to see a house in South Sacramento. So just incredible. But let's remember, like I said, here is this market that nobody predicted, but yet here we are. And so let's sort of unpack where things are. In terms of price growth, someone was just talking about price growth in the chat. Here's where we are. Here's the median price from 2019 to 2020 in the region: Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado, and Yolo. You can see, based on the corresponding colors, it really ranges anywhere from 5 to 10% or so. Now, this was some really healthy growth, because for a while in previous years, the market felt like it was slowing down. And let me show you what I mean. Here's a different way to look at it. From 2014 to 2019, these are various counties. This is sort of price growth. And do you see how we were seeing less price growth over time as I show my cursor? That's exactly what the market was doing. It was like we were putting on the brakes, okay? And the market was still going forward, but look at 2019. Most counties were about up from anywhere from 3 to 6% or so. But look what happened in 2020 during a global pandemic. Every single county went up again. Okay, and so it's almost like momentum completely shifted. All right, the brakes started to be applied, really for the past few years. And then this very unexpected market occurred where we saw a complete 180. So isn't that amazing? And here's an astounding image to show what prices have done. Now, this is the weekly median price in the region. And let me explain what's going on. First of all, the two squiggly lines down here represent 2018 and 19. Okay, in a normal year, let me show you what a normal year looks like. It sort of, the median price goes up for half the year, and then you see the median price sort of slough for the second half of the year. Now, 2020 wasn't normal, like I said. And so 2020 was going up, and then the pandemic happened. Prices started to dip for a number of weeks, but then prices just went up. And rather than doing this sort of normal slough during the second half of the year, it's almost like we had a spring market during the fall season. Again, prices did go a little flat toward the end, but here we are in black in 2021, starting way above where we should. We're essentially it looks like about $30,000 higher than we really should be. But we had this sort of spring season during the fall, and here we are. So is that not incredible, or am I just a nerd? You be the judge. But let's break down the region in Sacramento. How, when we look at the entire region, Sac, Placer, Yolo, and El Dorado, over the past year, how much cash was there? Well, 11.4%. Now, this surprises people, and I'll get to that in just a sec. FHA, 14%. VA, 5.9%, and conventional, 66.4%. So conventional was the dominant form of financing, 2 out of every 3 sales. And so if you work in real estate, what I want you to do is to look at these numbers and make sure that you're aware of programs that loan officers are pitching, and make sure you're aware of programs that your borrowers can get into, okay? But here's cash. You can see since from 2013, cash has really dramatically declined. Cash is not much of a factor in today's market. Okay, now the narrative is that Bay Area cash is winning everything, and I would say the stats do not support that. Right, but here's where cash is winning. Okay, cash is winning during conventional financing. When a property gets into contract and then the appraisal comes in lower and then someone brings in extra cash to pay above the appraised value. And so that's where cash is powerful. If you're a buyer in today's market, you simply have to have some cash on reserve, most likely, in order to deal with that dynamic. All right. Here's FHA, definitely down from where it was 10 years ago. And VA, it's been very steady. This is good news for our veterans. Not dynamic, but still 5-6% of the market. Here's conventional. What a change from over 10 years ago. Last quarter, it was 68.1% of the entire market. So again, this is the dominant force in the market. Nearly 7 out of 10 sales are going conventional. But here's the thing. I alluded to before that a lot of times in today's market, we've been hearing about, Bay Area buyers are driving our market. They are the force. And in the chat, let me know, are you hearing that? Do you believe it? Let me know what you think. I would love to get your perception. But here's the thing. It's really easy to sort of blame it on the Bay. Sorry for my cheesy Milli Vanilli joke. If you don't get that, I apologize. Google it. But we so quickly, point our finger at the Bay, and I think what we're doing, we're discounting the power of local buyers, because a lot of markets across the country right now are really aggressive. They're just like Sacramento. And so I would ask you, if you're saying that it's all the Bay here, well, is the Bay Area making, South Lake City hot? Is the Bay Area, making, Tucson or Phoenix hot, or, Austin? I would say most likely not. And so let's realize that the Bay Area, there's increased migration right now, but mortgage rates have made local buyers incredibly hungry. And in our narrative, let's not forget to realize that local buyers are still the dominant force here, okay? Here's a cool way to see the market. This is days on market, where you can see the black bars through every year represent September through December, okay? And so every year, like clockwork, it takes longer to sell. Besides, look what happened this year. This year was not normal during the fall season. It actually took less time to sell all throughout the fall. And so it bucked the normal seasonal trend, all right? And so that's the type of market that we've had. It's been atypical. It's been abnormal. Those are really good words to describe it right now. Here's a look at days on market. How long did it take to sell? Well, last year in Sacramento County, the average days was 24. You can see that's down from the previous year, but the median days is 8. And what median means is that basically half of all sales in the entire market took 8 days or less to sell. And so this is really the lowest number since this stat's been tracked for about the past 15 to 17 years. And so this is profoundly aggressive, definitely down before, but look at September through December. It got even lower, 7, 6, 7, 7. And so we've had a market on our hand that has been moving very, very quickly. And so it's almost like, buyers need to be, waiting on those listings. And as soon as something comes to the market, they've got to be ready to decide. There is no time to wait. You've got to jump on it right away. So here's a growing segment of the market, though, the $1 million market. Now, when we look at the $1 million market, here's from 2003 through 2020, this yellow line represents the percentage of $1 million sales, or in other words, it shows this percentage in the chart here. And basically last year, 3.6% of all sales were million. Okay, and so the bulk of the market is obviously not $1 million, but this has been a growing segment. And so I would just say, as you look at your book of business, make sure that you diversify and get into markets that are growing. Okay, I have down here that 51.3% more $1 million sales over the entire year. And so we saw profound growth. All right, but here's an interesting thing, because when we look at the past year, I feel like there's two markets, the entire year, but then there's also the past 6 months. Okay, the past 6 months or so was when the market got really, really crazy. And this graph right here, it basically shows, 7 months technically, June to December this year compared to June to December last year. And so, for instance, here's above $1 million. Over these past 2 quarters, we basically saw 94% more $1 million sales. Someone says that the sound is lost. Can you guys hear me in the chat? Sound is good. Okay. All right, sweet. I always freak out. I can't see people's faces. It's so weird still presenting like this, but 94% more $1 million sales. Okay. When you think about 75% more, anything above 750,000, there's 75% more sales in that price segment this year. Or I think the hard news for buyers that are trying to afford the market is that under 400,000, there's 20% fewer sales this year. Okay. And so, it's, I'm sorry if it's quiet. I can't control anything. Maybe Joel, if you can jack up the volume overall. I don't have control on my end. I can maybe try to talk a little bit louder though. But what we're seeing is in a market with a lot more multiple offers. Okay. And here's Vinny. It's Realtor Angela Gitt. It's her dog, lined up with 24 offers on a property. Now, thankfully for buyers, not everything is getting 24 offers. In fact, the vast bulk of the market is getting 3 offers or less. About 75% of the market has 3 offers or less. And I know that sounds crazy because it seems like everything is getting, 10 to 20. It's really not true statistically, even though it feels that way. All right. But here's a look at sort of the dynamic of today to show how aggressive it actually is. Now, here's December 2019 versus 2020. Here are the number of offers made based on closed sales. There were 108% more offers made this year. And so basically the number of offers more than doubled this year. And so if the market feels like it's twice as aggressive, well, I think we look at stats like this and go, okay, I get that, because it literally is. Okay. But here's closed sales. You can see that, closed sales were up 26% this December. It was a really strong December, highest one in recent years. That accounts for some of the reason why there were more offers. Okay. But here's, I think, the big stat is that the average number of offers, 3.22 were, when you look at all sales in December, and 3.22 was a number that was the average. Now, some of them obviously got 24, but this is one that I think is astounding because it shows a 66% change from last year at the same time. Okay, look at December 2019. This is normal. This is what it should be like. All right. Let's see, someone asked, do you have a chart showing that most of the people making offers are on the higher end of the income spectrum? You know what? I don't have multiple offers by price range. I didn't create that for this, but I will say that we tend to see the market be more competitive at lower price points. And so the higher the price gets, the less competitive the market is. But I'll say this. The market is super competitive, even above $1 million. And so you have to almost take that with a grain of salt, but it's a fiercer battle under 400,000 especially. And so there are likely to be more multiple offers at lower ranges, simply because half the market is fighting for, under 450,000 or so. All right. But here's sort of, I think, maybe some hope for buyers. I know this is crazy. There's all these dots and you're going, what in the world does this even mean? Let me explain this, because I think this is where we look at stats and we let stats inform our perception of the market and form what we say. And so this is Sacramento County. I have, images like this for every local county. If you need another one, just send me an email, no problem. But on the x-axis, it shows the number of offers, okay, 0 to 28, okay? And on the y-axis, it shows, the sales price to original list price ratio. You go, okay, what is that? Well, okay, if this ratio is at 100%, that means that the property sold for exactly what it was listed for. All right. In an aggressive market, you have that dynamic where stuff is just selling for whatever it's listed for or even beyond. Now, you can see the bulk of properties sold above the list price last month. But look, there's definitely a host of properties that sold lower. But here's kind of where I want to draw your attention, and I hope I don't lose you here. Just a couple minutes. So look at this. The more offers you get, the higher a property sells above its original list price. And I know you go, okay, duh, thanks, Captain Obvious. That makes total sense. Okay, I get it. But here's the thing to really hone in on, because look, when you go at about 5 to 6 offers or so, look what happens. properties, you don't see this dynamic change where the market almost starts to look the same. Okay. And so, a realtor, I was talking to Cheryl Smith a few months ago, and, she said, after you get about 5 years or so, it seems like a lot of the offers start to resemble one another. Okay. And I think that there's some truth to that generally. We see it in the stats. And so I just want to draw a couple things out of here that, first of all, sellers, you don't need 15 offers in order to command the highest prices. Sometimes you get 5 offers, you're able to get as much as you can possibly get. Okay, are you in the driver's seat if you get 15? Of course. Would I rather have 15? Yes, I would. But technically, according to the stats, you don't need that much. Okay, and buyers, you have a fighting chance to be able to get into contract, because just because there's 15 offers doesn't mean that offer number 15 is being selected. In fact, I have seen sellers have to be discerning about the quality of the offer and how strong the offer is, rather than just blindly picking the highest offer out there. And so it's a bloodbath out there. Hang in there, but I think it's hope. Okay. Now here's when we look at last month versus, the same time last year, check this out. Here are properties that sold below the list price. And I know you're thinking, what? Something sells below the list price? Yes. Even last year in this hyper aggressive market, about 1 out of 10 sales sold below the list price. And keep in mind, last year was more of a normal market. We should have at least, 20% or so of properties selling below list price. So the market, again, it's been sort of chopped in half. Or look at the properties, no matter the price point, or the percentage, we're seeing more aggressive numbers this year. Okay, especially when you look at properties that sold 1 to 5% above list. 40% of the market, or 1 to 10%, you have over 50% of sales. And last year it was more like 23%. And so it's like the market, again, it feels twice as aggressive. I have images like this for various price ranges. It's interesting because not every price range shows the same dynamic. If you want those, you can email me. That's no problem. But how many of you in the chat box have heard about a foreclosure wave? Who's heard about that or read articles, or who has clients asking you about that? Chime in there. I'd love to hear kind of what you are seeing out there, because this is a viable question. Is a foreclosure wave coming? And Johnny, yes, clients are asking. Emily says yes. And so I want to give some stats. I want to give some perspective and some things that you can share. Yes, all the time. And honestly, I think when the pandemic first began, that was the narrative. They're like, hey, it's all over, folks. Foreclosure 2.0, housing bubble 2.0, it's about ready to implode. But guess what? Those YouTube gurus predicting the demise of the market haven't been right yet. Their prophecies have not come true. And so here's what I want to look at. So basically, this graph in Sacramento County, and it's true of the region, it shows REOs, or bank-owned sales, in blue and short sales in red, really over the past 11 years. And we've bottomed out. Look, in the fourth quarter of this year, 0.36% were bank-owned and 0.21% were short sales. So basically, 0.5% of all sales were distressed. Profoundly different from 84% in 2009. All right, and so we don't have any distressed market. I say this because there's basically nowhere to go but up. We have bottomed out. Technically, you can get a little bit lower, but it's hard to do that. Okay, and I think Jeff said, too early to make this call. I agree to a certain extent. Okay, and Steve says, yes, 2022, it's all happening. But here's what's happening with mortgage forbearance, because I think this is the big ugly beast in the background. This is what we really have to watch. Mortgage forbearance, if you don't know, it's a formal process where a borrower can go to the lender and say, hey, can I be entered into this period where I'm figuring out life and maybe not paying my mortgage, and where I have a little bit of a grace period. And so what happened with forbearance, you can see at the beginning of the pandemic, okay, regardless of the loan type, there was this gigantic increase in forbearance, okay? Particularly Fannie Mae, FHA and HUD, FHA, HUD, and VA have seen more forbearances. That's what Freddie Mac's stats show. And so I would say that if you're considering past clients, where they're at, what they're dealing with, go back and revisit clients who put very little money down who could be struggling now. But check this out. Forbearance, it represents 5.1% of all mortgages are in forbearance. That's 2.73 million loans nationally. And you can see though they shot up, but look what's been happening over time. They've been going down in every category. Now, over the past month, some news stories are like, okay, it's up. No, it's down. It's up. And it's like this game of ping pong. Okay. We are in the middle of this. And that's where I think where Jeff said was like, hey, it's too early to make this call. I mean, look, we're in the thick of it. We don't know how this is going to pan out. But for now, we need to watch sort of this ping pong news and understand, but do we see how this trend, this is a positive thing. Now, here are people who have exited forbearance between June of 2020 and just a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to read this whole thing. You can digest it later. Joel will have the PDF. I've emailed it to him. If you email me, I can certainly email it to you too. But check this out. Here's a couple highlights. 28.8% of people who have exited forbearance over the past 2 quarters, they continue to make their monthly payments. Okay, so you have almost 3 out of 10 people who entered forbearance who are actually making every single payment. And so sometimes we look at forbearance stats and go, oh, everything's going to collapse. But we have to realize that, well, that's not true. There are people who enter this process who actually continue to make their payments. 13.5% represented borrowers who did not make all of their monthly payments and exited forbearance without a loss mitigation plan. And so for you, if you work in real estate especially, I would pay attention to this number because there's this sliver of people, 13.5%, who don't have a plan. They're going to need your professional advice, whether that's a loan modification, whether that's a short sale, although we're in our 10th year of price growth. A lot of properties they have profound equity. They don't need to sell short, okay? But whatever the advice it is and whether you're involved in the transaction or not, okay? 7.4% resulted in loans paid off through a refinance or selling the home. I wish we knew how much was in each category, but we don't. But frankly, this is one of the most important things to watch. And I think that when people say that the tsunami is coming, the wave is coming, well, we don't know for sure, but the numbers are going in the right direction for now. Hopefully they continue to go in that direction where we see people, dealing with their stuff. Now, Biden, when he became president, within, the first day, he extended the eviction and foreclosure moratorium to at least March 31st. And I know in California, there's presumably going to be a vote on Thursday to extend moratoriums, an eviction moratorium through June of this year. And so it's something that we're going to have to watch over time. But here's kind of what we're doing. We're having issues and then we're punting down the road. It's like we're kicking the can down the road and, prolonging this effect. Whether that's good or bad, I think, we'll know in a number of years whether this was helpful or not. But I think that we just have to realize and humbly that we are in the middle of this. We don't know the full effect of the pandemic on the housing market and on the economy, on the job market. We don't know the long-term effects because we're still in the short term. So how has the pandemic affected both buyers and sellers? So there's a lot of things. I'd love to actually hear what you have to say in the comments, but here's some stuff I would say. People want larger homes. People want more land. They're less interested in condos. People want vacation homes. Divorce seems very common. Every divorce attorney I know is really, really busy. Some tenants are struggling to pay rent. Owners hesitant to list their homes. People need space to work from home. Pools have grown in popularity. I'll show you that in a sec. Employers are letting some workers be at home. And I think the big one is that people are sort of reevaluating their lives, going, okay, what is it that I want to do? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to do life with? And maybe I'm not going to wait until retirement to move. And so it's sort of been a market of making decisions. And so just profound. But here's one thing to consider is that there's inequality in remote work because we often look at the pandemic and think that, okay, everyone and their mom's able to work at home right now, but that's actually not true. This is put out by Indeed, and it basically shows that the percentage of people able to telework at home it varies by their education level. And so you can see graduate degrees on top, and all the way down to no high school degree whatsoever. And so I think that this underscores that, the market doesn't feel the same to everyone. And some people are thriving and their stock portfolio is doing really great. And other people are struggling in forbearance and they're thinking, I need assistance with rent. I am having a hard time here. Okay. Inventory has basically been chopped in half. Have you guys noticed? I'm sure you have. So here's the United States, though. Here's the interesting part. So this comes out from Altos Research. Highly recommend you follow them. You can see that there are 388,000 listings, active listings at the beginning of this month, compared to about twice as many the previous year. Now, the interesting part is that we're definitely down from previous years. Okay, we are. We had a housing shortage before this pandemic began, but it's been phenomenal to see this. Okay, and Marlo, there's your screenshot. You got to take it real quick if you want a picture. Joe Exotic didn't get his pardon, so. But here's the Sacramento region, okay? And you can see that this same dynamic in the United States is actually happening in Sacramento. And so remember, what I said is that this hot trend in Sacramento, we're seeing it in many areas of the country, okay? And so we should have about 2,400 listings. We should have had at the beginning of January, but we had literally half. Okay, here's a different way to look at it. In the Sacramento region, 50.2% fewer listings, and sort of I'll let you go by county, but you can see by price range, when we compare last year versus this year, really every single price range is down except $1 million. Above $1 million, we're approaching sort of what would have been normal last year, but keep in mind, we've seen profound growth in $1 million buyers, so this actually isn't close to enough right now. All right, here's inventory. And you can see we're just down at ridiculous levels. And when you think about it on days, 12.4 days of listings right now, or 16, 27, 20. I mean, we really should be about 40 to 60 days easily, but we're just so much lower. But look at this. About 6 months ago, rates went below 3%. And do we see what happened to inventory? And so inventory is way down, but it's not just a pandemic thing. We're not giving enough credit to the power of mortgage rates going below 3% and how wonky it's made the market. Okay, and so I think this is very powerful. Look at El Dorado in gray. It's traditionally way above the rest of the market, but look at this. It's way down right now. Okay, the good news, in 2020, we actually saw 4.1% more sales compared to last year. And so here's 2020 in this golden bar, and check this out. More sales compared to last year, down from a few years ago, but this is very positive. And I know some people are like, wait, how can we have more sales when we have, listings chopped in half? Well, here's the thing. When you look at active listings, one of the reasons why listings are so low is because every single month we have hundreds more pendings, okay? And so pendings aren't counted in the listings number. And so these pendings are closing and we've had higher volume, okay? There's not enough listings right now because demand is so excessively high, but that's actually a good sign. And so, we'll see what happens there. Here's sort of what a normal year looks like though in the region. This shows, this one green line shows 7 years worth of sales. And so it shows January, here's the average of sales. We start out low and then we start to see more and more sales until typically we top out in June, okay? Like clockwork every year. And then look what happens for half the year. The last half of the year, we see volume slide down. And some people, when I post this image, they say, what's wrong with the market? How come we're not seeing more sales? Well, look, it's very normal. Sort of, there's increased demand and then, people start thinking about school and vacations and, Christmas and Thanksgiving or whatever holidays they celebrate, okay? But let me show you 2020 compared to this. Check it out. What a difference. 2020 saw this huge dent in volume where the market felt like it was starting to crater for about 4 weeks. And then we started to see volume tick up again. And then look what happened. For the past 6 months, we've had much more volume. And so the past 6 months have basically helped us catch up from this first, COVID dip or COVID lull, okay? But look what happened. Even in this really aggressive market, do we see this black line? Do we see seasonality? Do we see this descent, a seasonal trend? So this market's really aggressive, but it hasn't trumped the season, okay, in some regards. And so what I would look for you right now when you're looking in January going, we need more listings, we need more listings. All right, more listings theoretically should be on the way. They don't usually hit, kind of like real estate agents say before the Super Bowl, right? Whether that's true or not. But we should theoretically be seeing more in coming months. And so trust the season. A few more things, and then I'll jump into my closing thoughts. But does higher fire insurance still matter? I think this is some really, really cool data. So in El Dorado County, let me show you what's been going on. The entire year of sales, 2019 to 20, there was a 28% increase in sales. Okay, but check this out. Let's compare fire insurance areas versus non-fire insurance. So here's the past 7 months, okay, in El Dorado Hills and Cameron Park. Typically, there aren't fire insurance issues in these areas. Sometimes, occasionally there are, but there was 35% growth. Now, here are areas, everything besides Cameron Park and El Dorado Hills actually saw more substantial growth despite fire insurance. And so it just shows that the market has maybe, gotten used to higher rates. Maybe rates have normalized a bit, but also this whole pandemic thing of I want to move to Shingle Springs or Placerville because I want more land. It's a real thing. It's not just hype, okay? Am I the only nerd in the room? I think this is really cool. I might talk about this on my blog this week. I haven't shared it anywhere. I mean, take a screenshot, share this type of stuff in your newsletters because buyers are hungry for this, okay? We had the most new construction over the past 15 years. This is glowing news. This comes from North State BIA. When you get this in person, maybe you can unpack some of the stats. We got to move along. There were 11.4% fewer condo sales this year. And it's not that condos are not popular. They are still moving, but it's just that single family detached home with the backyard with more space has been all the rage compared to feeling more confined in a condo. And so be in tune with what buyers want. Okay, 8.4% more homes with built-in pools sold in 2020. You could see this major uptick in people wanting pools. 3 closing X factors, and I'm going to close with my points. So what things we have to watch: the economy. Okay, here's the unemployment rate in the United States in black. It shot way up when the pandemic began. Okay, and then it's come down. And Sacramento County is in blue. And so this is heading in the right direction. But here's the thing: if you're reading articles and thoughts by economists, they're kind of talking about the economy stalling, or they're concerned about potentially more jobless claims coming. And so we're still in the thick of this. We have to see how it's going to pan out. Okay. One of the other X factors is mortgage rates. It's unbelievable that rates have been below 3%, but they shot up very recently, and 2.77%. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. No, it's not. This is insanely low. But here's the thing. Our market never would have did what it did this year. We never would have seen 10% growth in Sacramento County. We never would have seen this market that was clearly decelerating. We wouldn't have seen this acceleration again without the juice of mortgage rates. And so mortgage rates going up is a big deal if this continues to happen, because this essentially softens the market. We are addicted to low rates. We feel it when rates get higher, okay? Still absurdly low. Don't worry about this for now, but we want to keep an eye on it. The last thing is the vaccination plan. It's a big deal, whatever happens in California. And hopefully this vaccine will continue or start to roll out a little bit more efficiently. But basically, for us to return to normal, we need a vaccine to be effective and implemented. All right. It's hard to imagine normal, whatever that even means anymore, without sort of people being able to resume normal life and feel like I can have, buyers walk through my home. I feel comfortable in all regards, going out there. And so something to watch. But here's some closing thoughts, some quick stuff. Let me jump through these because I know I'm about ready to end my time. You guys are going to kick me out of here. So I'd say be a student of the market so you can spot what is normal versus not. Every single month, ask yourself this question: what does the market normally do in January? What normally happens in February? And know those things. Okay. Adjust your narrative based on stats. Don't be afraid to change what you say if the stats change. Okay. Sometimes we get so locked in, especially for people who work in real estate, and you feel like it's sin to talk about the market in non-glowing terms. Look, if the stats are not glowing, then, don't fabricate, and spin this narrative that's disconnected from real stats. I'd say find inroads to the growing luxury market. Be on the lookout for opportunities to split lots. Remember, after 9 years of equity, and we're in our 10th year of price growth now, there's opportunities that some owners have with larger lots, splitting them off, whether it's Rio Linda or Midtown or places where this is happening. Okay, pay attention to the conversation about eliminating single family zoning in Sacramento. This is a big conversation. It looks like it's going to happen. This is a trend nationally we're starting to see pop up. It's happening in Portland this year, going to be implemented in a number of months. It happened in Minneapolis last year. Watch for fallout in the commercial market. Things are really changing in commercial real estate. Build referral partnerships with agents in Texas, Idaho, Arizona, Oregon, all those places where locals are moving, Tennessee especially. Connect with millennials who are at a prime age for home buying and family building. Okay, this is the largest generation now. And so definitely watch for them, but watch for the silver tsunami of aging boomers and people who are in retirement mode, people who want to relocate or downsize, okay, and they're making decisions. Be well prepared for bubble conversations. Find sellers who want to cash out at the top, so to speak, whether we are at the top or not, whether, the market changes in the future and does anything like 2005 versus not. If it's in the perception of a seller, then I would say connect with that person. Look for buyers wanting vacation homes deep into Placer and Yolo and El Dorado County. This is a real dynamic. I've seen a lot of local agents begin to, try to specialize in that market. Build connections with pool contractors and landscapers. This is definitely people you want in your sphere of influence. Identify companies who are letting people work from home forever. And so I've listed a few in the parentheses, but that's a clue into people who might need to go there. Chris asked, could I expand on the elimination of single family zoning? Here's basically what it means in a very quick nutshell. In the city of Sacramento, the zoning is wanting to be changed. Instead of allowing one house on one lot, to allow up to 4 units, okay, in every single neighborhood, East Sac or South Sac or wherever you are within city limits. And so it's a huge change, and there's actually racial implications and undoing rights from the past. It's a loaded conversation, and so know the pieces of conversation, but that's it from going from 1 to 4. Parking will be fun, yeah, but hey, same thing with ADUs. ADUs are allowed right now, and it hasn't led to a parking issue so far. Identify who's thriving and not in this economic recovery. Some people are thriving, some aren't, and what are the needs of various clients, okay? Write up contracts for owners who are wanting to sell to tenants. Look for sellers who want to list off market. Find people who are moving money into and out of Sacramento. 1031 exchanges are up. Definitely be a part of that. Help owners and businesses wanting to move out of the market. Find who are the Elon Musks locally who are just tired and who want out of California. And we don't want to be negative, and I can't stand that vibe, but hey, if that's a trend, then, ride the wave that's here. That's fine. A few more things. Know how Proposition 19 works. How this affects people. Read absolutely everything about it, of people being able to move to various counties and keep their tax base. And how does that impact heirs also? I have a lot of clients who are asking these questions. Keep an eye on the Bay Area market and be ready for inbound growth. Okay, it has been a thing. LinkedIn published stats showing a 7% more relocations to Sacramento. They didn't specify that was the Bay. I have a strong feeling that was. Don't keep doing the same thing because it won't work in every market. All right, that is just the truth. And the last thing, not related to real estate, but I'd say is grow in character and become a better person. Whether you work in real estate or not, you know what? One of the best things we can do is become better people, because those are the kind of people that I want to work with in the future, whether the market is up or the market is down. So that was me in a nutshell. You can email me. You can email Joel for this presentation. But guys, I hope that was helpful. I know that was a lot. And thank you so much for your time today.